next topic, that is the impact of cultural differences. We're talking in this particular topic, we'll be talking about the impact of cultural differences on the individuals and the verbal and non-verbal communication that is across the various or diverse culture. Communication, this verbal and non-verbal you have done earlier also, but over it is it is more likely across the different cultures. So I think everybody knows what is a culture. Can anyone define what is, how do you define the culture? Yes. So culture is actually what? How the people in an organization behave, how they, what is their attitude, what is the type of decision they are taking. Okay, so various types of cultures are there, how they behave in a particular situation. So there are certain things which is actually obvious. We can see them. Like you can see whatever art is there, whatever folk dance is there, whatever food is there, whatever celebrations is done. But there are various other things also, like body language. Okay, what is your posture? You have to understand, you have to interpret that through that particular culture. So diverse cultures have different types of body language. The same body language will be having different meanings in different cultures. So you have to understand that culture is actually what people think and how they interact with the people. So when we come across cultural differences, why is it necessary to understand the cultural differences? Yes, Vidhi. Vidhi. Yes, Vidhi.
Yes, ma'am.
Slide is visible.
Yes, ma'am, visible.
Okay. So you have to understand the cultural differences because when you're working in an organization, there are a lot of people because of globalization. People are interacting with each other, so they are having a lot of workforce diversity is there. So if you're not able to work properly with those people who are from a diverse culture, it will create stress and anxiety. That is why it is very much necessary that you understand the cultural differences. If you can see the slide, you can see over here that there is an iceberg. Okay, so what is an iceberg, Harsh? How will you define an iceberg? Harsh, 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 how can you define an iceberg? Yes, anybody? How do you define an iceberg? Am I audible to everybody? Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
How to explain an iceberg? I think in iceberg, only little portion is visible and the maximum portion is actually under the water.
30% is above the ocean
Yes,
and 70% is below the ocean.
yes. So same with the culture also. Some things are very much visible, and that is actually the lesser part is actually visible, and where other people are aware of that particular thing. So that is the iceberg concept of culture. That most like you can see in that particular diagram, there is fine arts, there is literature, drama, classic music, popular music, folk dance. These are all the things which are visible to other people. Okay, cooking, dressing. So that is what is an iceberg concept of culture. That maximum part is below the water, below the ocean, which we actually are not aware of. You can see over here conception of beauty. In different cultures, conception of beauty is different. Like in I told you in the previous semester about the advertisement of Colgate. When they went to Vietnam, they did not like white teeth. They actually liked black teeth. That was their concept of beauty. So Colgate actually had a problem over there. So every culture has a different way of conceiving or perceiving the things. Then how to have a family. Okay, so how to communicate with the people. What is the definition of sin? What is the concept of cleanliness? What is the attitude of dependency? What is the pattern of group decision making? What is the nature of friendship? What is the concept about self? What do you think about proximity? Proxemics, that is physical space. How do you handle the emotions? These are all the things which are actually not visible to us. So that is below the level of the ocean water, which is not actually visible to the people who are working with you. So that is why the iceberg concept of culture tells that maximum part is actually below the understanding of the people. So it is necessary for the people to understand the people who are coming from different cultures and who are actually working with you. Otherwise, it will cause anxiety and stress if you're not able to understand their culture and behave accordingly. सबके gestures अलग होते हैं, facial expressions अलग होते हैं, and the expressions have a different meaning in different cultures. Like we had already talked about Edward Hall, had talked about high and low context culture. Okay, and personal space. How much personal space is required by everybody? So, high context cultures, which include Asian, South American, African countries, value society and collectivity. Okay, like we like to be in collective form. We take group decision making. So, group harmony and intuitions are very important context in high context culture. So, context is more valuable than words, and much of the speech is implied. So, in case of high context culture, which was given by Edward Hall, we understand that most of the words or most of the communication is implied communication. You have to understand the communication not with the help of words, but with the help of non-verbal communication. High context culture will have more of implied communication, or you can say gestures or non-verbal communication. And mostly it is in the Asian, South American, and African countries. Whereas in low context cultures, they actually rely a lot on the words. Okay, they whatever has to be, it is explicit. People will be using more and more words in case of low context culture. So it is very customary to speak out and explain one's point of view in the low context culture. Over you can see the pyramid. The Japanese are having high context culture or low context culture. What does the pyramid show? The Japanese, the Arabs, the Latin Americans. What does the pyramid show? Is it having high context culture or low context culture? ऊपर वाला क्या है? Japanese का क्या है? High context है कि low context है? Kishan, Kishan, the Japanese are having high context culture or low context culture?
Yes, ma'am. They
The
are
Japanese
having low contact.
low context culture.
No, ma'am. They are having high context
They're
culture.
having high context culture. That means
Yes.
most of their cultures is actually being done through the gestures. In high context cultures, the words are not playing an important role. It is the gestures, the body language, the posture, the proximity that is playing the main part. It is non-verbal communication. It is implied. That is the high context culture. In low context culture, words are having more importance. Whatever you wish to say, it has to be said. It is not implied. So it is more explicit. Everything has to be spoken. Words are of actually importance in low context culture. You have to explain everything in a low context culture. In a high context culture, it is implied. You have to understand through the non-verbal communication, through the gestures. So Japanese, as you can see, the Japanese, the Arabs, it is just see the pyramids. So the Swiss, the Germans, the Scandinavians, they are having a low context cultures where everything has to be spoken out. It is explicit. Japanese are having a high context culture. So whenever you are going for a business with a workforce diversity, so association, whenever going for how you're going to behave with them, what are your etiquettes, everything gets affected through your cultural norms. Like in high context cultures, Chinese have a high context culture. Okay, so over there, and they actually follow a lot of hierarchy. Hierarchy is, if you remember, power distance, which is given by who gave the power distance index? Yes, who gave the power distance index? Who has given the power distance index? Yes, Deepak. Deepak? Deepak, who has given the power distance index?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
I'm Hofstede, ma'am.
Hofstede. Okay, so the Hofstede had given power distance index. So in Chinese culture, you have a lot of hierarchy. Okay, the so you have to work according to the hierarchy. Over there, if you accept a business card or you give a business card, it has to be done with both hands, and you have to read it, and then only you can put it away. Okay, otherwise it is taken as a very rude concept. So because of that particular culture, like you can see in India, People, when they hand over a business card, actually nobody is reading it also. They just put it down. Okay, so in Chinese culture, it is an insult over there. You have to hold the card with both the hands, accept the card with both the hands, and read it carefully before you put it away. Okay, so various countries actually have their ways of communication. In some countries, negotiation cannot take place before socializing, drinking tea or coffee, or having a meal. So you can see the last paragraph. In some countries, when you're going for a negotiation, it is very much necessary that you socialize with the people. You have meals with them, you sit out with them, you have drink or tea or coffee, whatever with them, and then only you will enter into a negotiation. So these are the various things you have to understand in case you're having a workforce diversity. So this was about the impact of your culture on the workforce diversity. Now we talk about communication. From various first semester, you've been studying what is communication. So it is describing the process of sharing meaning or transmitting messages through the media, such as words, behavior, material artifacts. So over you talk about the individual, the group, and the organization. And in case it is cross-cultural communication, that means you're talking to people with different cultural backgrounds. So you have to understand how they perceive the world and how they communicate. So that is why it is cross-cultural communication. You can see the diagram over here. The sender is there, whatever is meaning. Then you have the medium through it is passing, and the receiver has to decode the meaning in the same way that it is being passed on. In between, you can have noise, and then you give the feedback. So this is the process of communication that you have already been learning from various semesters. Why is cross-cultural communication important? Amanullah? Amanullah,
Yes, ma'am.
why is cross-cultural communication important? Why is it important? Yes, because see, in because of why has cross-cultural communication come into being? Because of globalization. So whenever you're having globalization, whenever you're working in an MNC, you'll be having people from different cultures. If you go to business for doing business in foreign countries, if you work in an MNC, you'll be having people from different countries, and you have to know how to behave with them. So that is what is very much necessary because the main factor is globalization behind that. So the first thing is common ground. So whenever you're going to work with a person who is from a different culture, you have to first find what is the common ground between you and that particular other person so that you are able to effectively communicate with that other person. So that you have must have a common ground. नहीं तो आप, how will you establish a dialogue between the two people if you're not having a common ground? So the first thing is that when you're working with a person of another culture in a company, there must be a common ground between the two where you're going to work. Second is informational context. So different corporate cultures require different levels of information. Okay, over you come with that context, high culture context and low cultural context. In case you're working with a person who is from a high cultural context, everything can, most of the words will be implicit. That means you will be talking to them through your gestures, through your mannerism. But in case you're working with a person who is from a culture that is a low context culture, you have to explain yourself everything. You have to explain every word to that person. So it has to be explicit. So different corporate cultures will require different levels of information. Developing the proper informational context is critical when communication is being done with a new business partner. So you have to understand whether he's what type of a context he's coming from, whether he's coming from a high context culture or whether he's coming from a low context culture. Then the third point is trust, because you are talking to a person who is from a different culture. So it is very much necessary to establish trust between you. If you're able to understand his culture, he's able to understand your culture, then only you can start with building a trust because you both the people are strangers over there. So when you find a common ground, then only you can build upon trust. So that is why cross-cultural communication is very much necessary. Then you talk about quality. What does quality mean over here? What does quality mean over here? In case of communication, what does quality mean? Yes? Yes, Vidhi. In case of communication, what does quality mean over here? Yes, Vidhi. What quality are you talking about over here?
And the way of expressing.
Yes, the way you're expressing yourself. If the information is actually passing on in the way you intend to pass it to. Okay. So the quality of the information that is you're passing, what is the quality information that you're passing to your new business partner? So it will help you to improve your communication with the particular person. Secondly, it is also talking about the quality of relationship that you're going to have with the client. Okay, so that should be done very nicely. So that is why cross-cultural communication is necessary, because you will be having a workforce diversity due to globalization. Okay, now we talk about two types of communication. Everybody knows what is verbal communication and what is non-verbal communication. So when you're speaking the words, it is verbal communication. Here the center gives the words to his feelings, thoughts, ideas, and opinions and expresses them in the form of speeches. Okay, so everything is being spoken over here. So that is verbal communication. And over here you can see what is non-verbal communication. It is your body language. Okay, it is your eye contact. It is your hand movement, your facial expression, your gestures. If you can see the diagram over here, you can see that 35% of the communication is verbal and 65% you can see the pie chart at the background, and 65% of the communication is non-verbal, that is through your facial expression, through your movement, through your appearance, through your eye contacts, through your gestures, through your postures. Okay, so most of your communication what you do is actually through your body language, through your non-verbal communication. The majority is through non-verbal communication, minority is through verbal communication. Okay, so non-verbal communication includes your kinesics behavior, your proxemics, paralanguage. What is kinesics behavior? Okay, leave out kinesics. See the second point, there is proxemics. Proxemics we have done earlier also. What is proxemics? What is proxemics? Any idea what is proxemics?
Some distance between the two
Yes, the
things.
physical space. Yes, physical space. Okay, that is proxemics. That is the physical space that you're having. Okay. So over here you can see the diagram for non-verbal verbal communication. Kinesics behavior, as I told you, it refers to the communication through body movements, through the postures, through the facial expressions. That is kinesics. Okay. You can see the body language of it. Anger is there, fear is there, joy, frustration. Okay, so these are all the way of kinesics behavior. That is the non-verbal communication. The first to talk about eye contact. Okay, so in certain cultures, if you look into the eye and speak, it is known as honesty and straightforwardness. Okay, so in USA, the cheapest and most effective way to connect with people is to look them into the eye. That is in USA. Most people in Arab culture share a great deal of eye contact and may regard too little as disrespectful. So in Arabian countries also, they require more and more of eye contacts. English culture, a certain amount of eye contact is required, but too much makes many people uncomfortable. See, in Arab country, they require more eye contacts when you're going for a business deal. But in English culture, they require eye contact, but not much. If there is too much eye contact, it becomes uncomfortable. So different cultures predict eye contact in a different way. And in South Asian countries, or even South Asian cultures, direct eye contact is mostly regarded as aggressive and rude. So see, the different cultures are actually just the eye contact is taken as in a different meaning in the different cultures. Now, if you talk about gestures, what do you mean by gesture? Yes, it is a motion, isn't it? A motion of your hands. You can see in the picture also, motion of the hand, the head, or the body. Okay, so the various movement of a hand or body, that is gesture. How you speak, how you are showing your gestures. So, like a thumbs up. Okay, it is taken as okay sign in many cultures, and Japan is taken as money. If you show a thumbs up sign, it is shown as a money. Okay, money के लिए हम thumbs up दिखाते हैं in Japan. So that is the different gestures. You can see in the picture also the same hand, the three hands have been shown over here. In Egypt, it is be patient. Is it visible to everybody? The three hands? Are the three hands visible? Yes? Are the three hands visible at the end of the slide? Am I audible to everybody? Am I audible?
Ma'am, the iceberg concept of culture.
हाँ, आइसबर्ग में क्या होता है? आइसबर्ग कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ कल्चर क्या? आपको
मैम
सिर्फ
ये वाली स्लाइड शो हो रही है।
स्लाइड शो नहीं हो रहा आपको? ओके, नाउ इज इट विजिबल?
यस मैम।
Okay. Okay, so if you talk about gestures, okay, you can see the three hands over there at the end. So in Egypt, the same thing is meaning be patient. Italy, it means what exactly do you mean? And Greece, it means it is just perfect. Okay, so the three hands are meaning different things in different countries. And if we see the OK sign, in USA it is OK, in Russia it is showing a zero, in Japan it is money, and in Brazil it is an insult. So the same gestures is meaning is having different meanings in different countries. If we talk about touch, okay, so like in our country, touching is not actually taken as in a very good sense. Nowadays, culture has changed. People have started hugging each other and all, but earlier it was not so. And hugging also is not to a great extent. So how do you touch the people? Do you shake hands? Do not shake hands? People in Asia are more conservative in these types of non-verbal communication. So you have to understand that when you're going for a cross-cultural communication. Then body movement and posture. So people actually receive various type of information and messages from the body. It shows how people feel or think about you. If a person does not face while you're talking, that means either he's nervous or he's shy. Okay, so it might also mean that the person doesn't like to talk to you. So other body movements like coming to sit near or far can also show confidence, power, or trying to control the environment. So you can see the body movement and the posture is showing different type of emotions. Somewhere it is showing shyness, somewhere it is showing nervous, somewhere it is showing that you do not want to talk to that person, like putting hands in pocket and talking. That is also considered as rude in many cultures. So the various movements, the non-verbal communication is having different impacts because of the cultural diversity. Then if you talk about facial expression, face, because you know that face actually shows your attitude, it shows your emotions. So the degree of facial expression is determined by the cultures. People from USA show emotions more easier than the Asian counterparts. We do not show facial expressions very easily. Okay. Facial expressions are shown to be similar all over the world, but people from different cultures do not show it in public. So that is the main difference. That either you can maybe showing it in public or maybe you're not showing it in public. Then you have paralanguage. What do you mean paralanguage? What can be paralanguage? Yes. What can be paralanguage? It's visible, no? I think it's visible. What do you mean paralanguage? Yes, Amanullah. Amanullah. Paralanguage actually means the tone you're talking in, the pitch you're talking in. Vidhi, is the slide visible?
Yes ma'am।
Okay. So when you're talking, what is the tone you're talking in? Okay, what is the pitch you're talking in? So how you're expressing yourself, the voice, the volume of your language. So the vocal characterization that is known as, are you shouting at somebody? Are you crying? Are you yelling? Okay, because different cultures will have a different meaning to it. Like in German culture, the people do not shout and talk. Okay, so that is the paralanguage. What's the tone when you're talking to a person from the other culture? Giggling, like we sometimes giggle. It is not taken as a very good gesture. Okay, so that these are all the paralanguage. Asian people mostly control themselves from shouting, as they're taught not to from childhood. Okay, so हम लोग को यही सिखाया जाता है. It is not good to shout and talk. So these are the various paralanguages. Then we talk about proxemics, that is a physical space. Anybody remembers what is proxemics? How will you explain it? What is the physical distance between the people? So in Middle Eastern culture, people like to go near to the others to talk, while in other people might get afraid. Like in our country, we do not like that people will come near us and talk. Okay, so how much distance you're maintaining between two people when you're doing a business negotiation, when you're talking to the other person? In European and American countries, what is happening? They actually, there is less acceptance of it. People have specific personal space which they do not want to introduce. You can see in the background also, I've shown that you can see the first one, the right hand side corner, that is social distance. After the social distance, it is going nearer to the personal distance. After the personal distance, you're going more near, that is the intimate distance. Okay, so that is the physical space, or you can say the proxemics. So when you're going in for a business negotiation, what is the distance you're maintaining with the people when you're talking to the people from the other culture? That is the proxemics. Now talk about the various blocks to cultural communication. So the first one is ethnocentrism. So ethnocentrism, we have been doing it from the very first, from the previous year only. From the previous, when you're talking about international marketing, in that also talk about ethnocentrism. So when you're unable to accept anybody else's culture, you think that your culture is the best. What you're doing, it is the best. That is the ethnocentrism. So that is the first block to cultural communication. Then you have discrimination. So differential treatment of an individual due to minority status. Okay, so you have already thought or perceived that this particular person belongs to a different culture, so he is actually from a minority status. Like the Africans, they were treated as laborers. The Indians, when they migrated to Brazil and all, as laborers, they were given the minority status. So they will be treated as such. So there is discrimination. So that is a block to cultural communication. Then you have stereotyping. Okay, so you generalize about a person while ignoring presence of individual differences. Because he's an Asian, she's an Indian, she'll behave like this only. So that is a stereotyping. We've already thought that this particular person belongs to this particular culture. So that is, he's going to behave like this only. So that is stereotyping. Then you have cultural blindness. The differences are ignored and one proceeds as though differences did not exist. Okay, so you're very indifferent. Person from a different culture is actually working with you and you're not worried also that he's belonging to some other culture. So that is the difference, is you're ignoring the difference. So that is the cultural blindness you're talking about. Then you have cultural imposition. From the name itself, you're understanding that you're imposing your beliefs on somebody else. You understand this is best for me, so it has to be best for the others also. So you're imposing it. So that is cultural imposition. Then you have a tone difference. So formal tone change becomes embarrassing and off-putting in some cultures. Okay, so when you're changing your tone of talking to other people, so that is also a block to cultural communication. So how are you going to manage the cross-cultural communication? You have to develop cultural sensitivity. You have to be very careful when you're encoding the language which they have passed. You have to have selective transmission, and when you're decoding it, you have to be careful and you have to see the follow-up actions. So, cultural sensitivity, encode the message in a form that will most likely to be understood as it is intended. So, in communication, it is very much important that whatever is actually intention of the sender, that has to be understood in the same meaning. This meaning means the manager must be aware of their own culture. The manager must be aware of the recipient's culture also and the expectations that are surrounding the situation. So that is the cultural sensitivity. You have to encode the message in a form that will most likely be understood as it is intended to be. Secondly, you have careful encoding. So the sender must consider the receiver's frame of reference to make the best choice. Okay, so when you're encoding, the best choice of words, pictures, gestures should be done so that it is encoded in the manner that it is intended to be. Then you have selective transmission. So you have to understand what is the medium through which it is best reachable. Okay, you have to select the best medium through which you're going to pass your message. Fourth, you have careful decoding of feedback. Okay, so the receiver should decode the meaning in the same way as you have wanted. Appropriate follow-up. Okay, whatever is the feedback, you have to give that. So that is the managing the cross-cultural communication. Then you come about cultural conflict. So differences are in cultural values and beliefs that place people at odds with one another. So that is the definition that has been given. Everybody knows what is conflict because you're having cultural differences, so you'll be having conflicts also because everybody takes things in a different manner. Your way of thinking, your attitude, your perception, your behavior is actually different for different cultures. So conflicts arise if you're not able to understand the other person's culture. So mostly, what is the cause of conflict? Because you do not understand the other person's culture. You have a misunderstanding through the language, maybe through the attitude, through the way of communication. You are lacking awareness of their lifestyle. You're not aware most of the differences in the cultural practice. You're not aware of the differences in the perception. You're not aware of the misinterpretation that can take place. Okay, so these are the various causes of conflict. Now tell from this diagram, how can you improve the cultural communication? Is the diagram visible? Is the diagram visible? Hello? Is the diagram visible? You'll have thought that you'll keep quiet.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not visible.
Ma'am, it's visible.
Okay. So they're talking about you have to enhance the intercultural sensitivity. Okay. If you're enhancing the intercultural sensitivity, then you'll be having effective communication. If you're having effective communication, it will improve your intercultural communication skills. Okay, if it improves, and how will it improve? Through writing and speaking clearly, listening carefully, helping others to adapt to your culture, studying other cultures and languages, respecting other preferences. So these are the various ways in which you can improve your cross-cultural communication. Communication is something that I have already done many times. So as such, it is nothing that you do not know. But in case cross-cultural communication, you have to understand what are the various differences that has to be thought about. So shall I ask questions now? Because in the entire class you have been sitting quietly. Shall I ask questions now? Yes, students.